Hey there, retro games fans. This is Andy C from Pieces of 8-Bit. So today I am going to do a console review with you. So obviously, if you watched my last video on the Getaway review for the PlayStation 2, you'll have heard me mention about doing a console review next time round. One word of warning, I think if you're thinking about becoming a classic games console collector, please do seek help immediately, because frankly I am relatively new to the collecting game, and it is somewhat of an obsession, just at the point when you go, do you know what, I think I've got all of the consoles that I think I want. There's always one or two still on the list of things that I want. For instance, for me, I thought, you know, I've got all the major consoles that I'd like, but there is still the Sega Saturn that's on there. You know, will I get an original Game Boy? Should I get a Master System? You know, those kind of questions that get asked on a daily basis. And frankly, a trip to CEX can become an expensive business, to the point where I think they know who I am in the store now, and they actively try and upsell to me. So I have to make a bit of a detour every time I nip into town, not to nip into CEX. But no, joking aside, I love collecting old hardware. Some of it is because, you know, I have fond memories of it and played it a lot when I was a kid, and some because I've not played on them at all before. So my collection typically consisted of Sony equipment. So I had quite a bit of Sony equipment actually. So the PS Vita that you can see behind me up there somewhere, PS2, PS3, 4 and 5, I owned all of those. Sadly, a lot of consoles I owned didn't really see the point in keeping them, so I traded them in to buy something else. So it meant that I didn't keep my original GameCube, I didn't keep my original PSP, but I have all my original PlayStation for that matter. But I have subsequently replaced a lot of that and bought secondhand again. But I did have quite a few consoles anyway before, but now I have lots more, and a much lighter wallet as a result of it. But it is great fun, and I do really enjoy it. Now, some consoles that I bought, I never even owned before, let alone even played on. And so today's review is going to be very much from the point of view of a console that I've never owned or never really played on, to be honest. And that is the original. That is the original beast, which is the Xbox. So why did I not own an Xbox? Well, I'll tell you for why. Because when Xbox came out, I was in my early 20s, and I thought I knew absolutely everything about everything. Microsoft was the big bad evil empire, and they were coming along to the games industry to basically destroy it for good. There was a lot of concern over the Xbox, in that Microsoft at the time were known for just buying their way into a market and then stifling innovation at the time. That was certainly the belief back in those days. So the Xbox for me was a big no-no. You know, I'd already bought a PlayStation 2. I had a PlayStation 1 before that. Very much in the Sony camp in terms of gaming, not even really into the Nintendo side of things, although I did own a GameCube from that generation, which I loved, which is something I will review also in the future. So I never really entertained the idea of getting an Xbox. In fact, quite the opposite. I was very, very dead set against the Xbox. But recently I have bought an Xbox. I actually picked up an Xbox One S the other day for an absolute steal, a Comic-Con as it happens, and I picked up an Xbox 360 quite cheaply from CEX as well. So all of those consoles to me are new for the first time, so where better place to start than the original Xbox. So what we're going to do in this video, I'm just going to dive into it from my perspective. We're going to play through a couple of games. So I've got a couple of PlayStation classics. We've got Project Gotham Racing, which I picked up, as you can see, for £1. And of course, what console review of an Xbox would not be complete without Halo? So we're going to have a bit of a play of these two games. I won't play them for very long. I'm just going to have a bit of a playthrough. I've played both of them very briefly, but I'm just going to sort of play them each for sort of a few minutes and just sort of give a bit of a verdict. That will help me to talk to you a little bit about the controller. Now, first impressions for me, I just want to say, so having owned a PS2 at the same era and a GameCube, this thing is freaking enormous. It is, and I've said this before. I have said this before. It is huge. It is really heavy. But then, actually, when you think about it, this really was the first console to have essentially a PC in it. It's a PC architected console. So whereas the PlayStation 2 had the its own, I think it was the Emotion engine, the PS3 had the Cell. This was basically a PC in disguise, and so that's why it's kind of heavy. It's quite powerful. It was more powerful than the PS2, despite not selling as many. So it is a beast, and everything about it, as I've said also before, is absolutely enormous. So the controller is absolutely humongous. I was a big critic of this when I first saw it. I was like, who in their right mind is going to be able to play on that console, on that sort of controller? A lot of people actually really like this controller, and they find it incredibly comfortable. And to be fair, it is really quite nice to hold. It's more comfortable than it looks. It is definitely a two-handed job, but then most controllers are, to be fair, especially modern ones. So it is a beast. Apparently, it's to do with the fact that to squeeze in all of the things they needed to squeeze into it is why it's so big. But it's surprisingly ergonomic for a large controller. I completely rubbished it without ever holding one or looking at one in any kind of detail. I went, that's ridiculous. And at the time, the PS2 DualShock was largely considered to be the gold standard when it came to controller design. But you know what? This has got some extra features on it that you don't have on the DualShock. For instance, it has triggers, whereas the PS2 controller, they were just buttons really. So there's a few things on there that are just really quite nice that you don't get on that. I think this is for Rumble, right? Am I right? Please correct me. I will just verify that. But I think this is for Rumble. So you have expansions for these, which a lot of which would be standard in the DualShock. But you know what? It's not a bad controller, despite the fact that it is absolutely vast. And as I said before, also things like the connectors and stuff like that are also really big. But that doesn't really matter. You're not going to see those. So so first what we're going to do is we're going to just go and have a look at how you might go about going and finding one of these out there, and a couple of just tips and things to bear in mind when buying an Xbox. Okay, so if you're thinking about buying an Xbox or buying yourself an original Xbox, there are a few things that you need to just consider. The first, of course, is that these machines are 24 years old. So, 24, 23 years old. They're old. and so you need to make sure that you're getting a working one. Now that seems like a really obvious thing, but when you're purchasing, just be very wary. And this goes for any console of a similar sort of age. Just bear in mind that these are old pieces of equipment, and unless you are particularly handy with a solder gun, then it is worth just thinking about where you're buying it from and what you're doing now. So obviously, if you buy from a company like CEX, you are going to pay a bit more of a premium, but you will get that 2-year guarantee, which is really quite cool. This one, I actually was a bit of a punt. I bought this one on eBay, and it was actually a bit of an accident because I saw a bid go up for this, and it came with 10 games, so some in the cases and also some in a soft case, and it was going for, I think it was £40 or it was £35 or something, and I just took a speculative bid. I was sort of thinking about buying an Xbox, so I had a bit of a speculative bid, and I think I won it, and I think it only cost me, delivered, I think it was only about £45-50, something like that. It wasn't much. It was a bit of a steal, and it was a bit of a fortunate steal really, because they do typically retail for a little bit more than that. Or if you're buying from eBay, two things to look for. One is that you've got a return, there is a returns accepted option on there if the console turns up and it's not working. And the other thing to bear in mind as well is also when you're looking at the photographs, see if you can see it working, pictures of it, you know, plugged into a TV with it working. That will just give you a little bit extra confidence. And the other way you can also buy these is from a retailer other than CEX. So I've bought quite a few consoles from expos and fairs and things like that, and you can usually ask the traders to switch them on for you if you're unsure, and get them to show you, or at the very least take a card, so you can get in touch with them if you have any problems. So one thing I would say about buying any old console, not just the Xbox, but it is always a gamble. You know, I bought an N64 and I thought it wasn't working at all, and I was like, I bought it in Oxford at a games fair, and I was like, well, what am I going to do with this? Turns out I spoke to the staff in CEX, and they said actually it can be the AV lead. So I bought a new AV lead, and sure as eggs are eggs, it fired up and it was all good. So obviously with old cartridge-based games as well, it's a bit of a, you don't usually know if the console's even working because they don't put anything on the screen if the cartridge isn't working. So you've got to clean the cartridges with a bit of isopropyl and whatever. But that's another discussion for another day when we come to a cartridge-based console review. Xbox is the one we're talking about today. One of the things to bear in mind with Xbox as well is they do have a capacitor which is prone to leaking, and all it does is powers the clock. So what you can do is you can actually take there's guidance on YouTube on how to do it, and literally you can just disconnect it. You don't even need to do anything with it. I think you can just literally just remove it, and it means that every time you switch your Xbox on, the clock's going to reset, but the question is, do you really care? And if you're handy with a soldering iron, then you can just replace that capacitor as well if you want to. And there's plenty of people out there that will be able to do that for you. I have no idea, to be perfectly honest, whether that has been done in this one or not. What I do know is that the clock resets every time I turn it on. So that can mean one of two things. One is that it's been removed, or two, that little capacitor is dead, and probably it's a ticking time bomb. So I do need to get into there and have a look and check that that's okay. The other things that tends to go on it is the hard drive. So this is one of the coolest things about the Xbox versus the PlayStation. These things came with hard drives built into them. PlayStation, obviously, you were stuck with your 8 meg card. You could buy a hard drive for them, but typically people didn't. So this came with a hard drive. If it breaks, it is a real nuisance to fix. So again, I'm reliably informed that this is something that I will need to address at some point, especially if I'm playing on it a lot. But the hard drives will just break. They are just standard, moving part hard drives from that sort of era. So keep that in mind as well. So once you've got your Xbox, things you're going to need to also consider is how to get it connected up to your TV. So you can watch my thrilling walkthrough console cabling, but for the Xbox, generally speaking, I have found that getting yourself a component lead like this is going to be probably your best bet. And as you've seen before, I also have a retro scaler which I use to plug it into the TV. And as you'll have seen from some videos I've done, the videos can be a little bit darker, but if you're using these component cables, generally speaking, you'll get a pretty good picture quality, and it's certainly good enough to play on your television as you need to. So definitely go find one of these. They are generally pretty cheap. I can't remember how much I paid for this. It wasn't much. It was less than £10, and so, but well worth the purchase. Obviously, if you stand with the standard composite, the quality is pretty dire. So I would just not bother with that at all if you can help it. Obviously, if you can hook it up to an old-fashioned CRT TV, you'll also get a really nice picture back with it. You won't sort of have to go through a retro scaler or anything else like that. You'll get a much better result there as well. So that should be enough to get you started. I think typically at the moment in 2024, for a good Xbox, you're going to be looking at between sort of upwards of about £50, £50-60. So they are still relatively cheap at the moment. The games are also really cheap at the moment. So some original Xbox games, quite often you'll find the Xbox version of the game a lot cheaper than the PlayStation version of the game. Good example of that, for instance, which I've got over here somewhere, is Time Splitters 2, which I picked up for £3, and I think on the PlayStation 2 it's about £8. Exactly the same game, and many would argue actually that the Xbox version of a lot of the games are a little better because they're the console itself was a little bit more powerful than the PS2. So it's quite a good purchase from that point of view. If you want to go and play some sort of cross-platform games that come out on multi-platform at the time, your Xbox is a good shout. You can pick one up usually cheaper than a PS2, although there are less of them around, not least because they sold, I think probably for every 10 PlayStation 2s sold, they sold one Xbox. So there are less Xboxes about to pick up, but they are still relatively cheap. So definitely go and have a look to see what you can find. Use those tips that I mentioned before to make sure that you get a good working one. Yeah, if you want a box one, obviously you're going to pay more than that. I haven't even seen any box ones around, to be honest with you. I haven't seen that many Xboxes, original Xboxes for sale. Loads of 360s. If you want a 360, they are everywhere. You can buy, they've usually got, in our local CEX, they've usually got about 10 of those in stock at any one given time. But Xboxes are a much rarer find, and I think it's probably quite a good time to buy one and look after it and cherish it. So yeah. So that's hopefully some useful tips to get you started in terms of going out and finding one and tracking one down. But definitely go and have a look. And I would suggest, like I say, this now is the time to do it. So let's fire it up and let's have a go with a couple of games. And yeah, I'll let you know what I think of that. Okay, so let's start this bad boy up. And have a look at the start sequence. You're already probably more impressed with this than you would have been with the PlayStation 2 one if you'd made that move across to Xbox when it came out. So this came out in 2001 in November worldwide. Sold about 24 million consoles. In the UK, it sold for about £299. Which is equivalent of probably about £500 or £600 now. So about standard price for a console at the time. As you can see, we've gone straight into Halo. If you start without a disc in, you can go and sort of configure your settings and play music and also set up your Xbox Live subscription, which I always call it Xbox Live. It's Game Pass nowadays, but Xbox Live back then, one of the first kind of truly successful online services. Dreamcast obviously had a bit of a go with that, with your dial-up and network capabilities in that. PlayStation 2 also had network capability, but you had to buy the adapter, which I did have, and I did play a few online games with it. But Microsoft were absolutely leagues ahead when it came to online gaming, for sure. So yes, as I say, this is the classic. This is the game that came out at launch. Halo, obviously a very well-known game. There has been films and many sequels to this game since. So we're just going to play this for a few minutes. I've played Halo a little bit, and I say a little bit, probably no more than about 15 minutes in total. I was a big fan of let's create a new one. As you can see, I've just sort of played here a little bit. I wonder if it's worth going into this one. No, let's create a new profile. So let's just not to worry too much about that. I was a big fan of a series called Red vs Blue, which was sort of an early kind of YouTube series back in, well, not long after the Xbox came out, which was great fun. If you can go find it, look it up. All the animation was basically done with in-game, basically, from in-game itchy in Xbox, and then the added voices to it. Really, really funny series. It went for years. I think it was Rooster, I think they were called, the group that used to produce it. I'm just going to go in easy at the moment. I know that's probably cowardice, but just to kind of get things going. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a massive fan of sort of the FPS genre, first-person shooter genre. I generally just don't really tend to get on with it too well. But I have, I've played a few, and I've played some good ones as well. On PlayStation as well, some that don't translate to consoles, like Half-Life, for instance, which just made you want to kind of vomit. But this is obviously is an FPS designed specifically for consoles, so I'm hoping that it's going to be kind of cool. Yeah, so it's just the intro to the game at the moment. It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool, nice and dark. and that probably is to do with my retro scaler as before.
We made a blind jump.
Alright, let me use some shot as my mouse is sitting there. Let me move that out of the way. Alright, can I skip this cutscene? Yes, I can. Alright, so I believe I'm waking up from I think from a stasis sleep. So I'm just going to get a little bit of kind of what do you know, like a little bit of a tutorial thing here. Yeah, so I've done software enabled right to move around, which is what I've done. Okay, great. Can I move yet? Nope. Oh, looks like my health bar is charging there. So I've got the volume turned right down, so it's not interrupting my microphone, but you'll hear the audio because I am actually recording that. Here we go. Okay. Oh, what am I going to do then? I can't actually hear what he's saying because I've got the volume turned right down. You'd be like, what are you doing? Right, left to move. This is one thing as well for a console of this, for a game of this age. This using the right stick to look around and the left stick to move, you know, might seem like a relatively common sense thing to do, but I'll tell you what, many games at this time did not use this dynamic, and so yeah, we're a real pain in the rump, to be perfectly honest. Right, I think I've got to shoot some stuff now. So let's see if I can do that. That's what I'm going to do. No weapon. No grenades. There's a guy there. Is he hiding there? Yeah, he is there. Look, I just can't see him. Oh, stand on the square. Right, okay. Then I've just got to, I think I've just got to look at them now. That's it. There we go. Lovely. Alright. And... right, stand on the red square. Vertical looking is now inverted. Oh, that's hideous. No. Vertical looking is now inverted. Press B to try it the other way. Leave it as it is. No way. I'm an absolute maniac to put it that way around. Yeah, and when you're flying, yes. When you're looking around, that's crazy. Vertical looking is now normal. Leave it as it is, please. Yes, thank you very much. That's just not any good. I'm not going to do that. Right, you can edit your pitch inversion, button layout, movement controls, and other settings. To edit your settings, press start, press save and quit, blah blah blah. Turn to the main menu, press setting. Okay. Alright. Checkpoint done. Alright, so I'm not going to play this for very long because I'm not going to do a review of Halo. I may actually do a review of Halo as someone that's never really played it before. Just because, you know, let you know what I genuinely think of it. But I've heard lots of very good things about this game, and I think to be honest with you, I think this helped Microsoft shift those 24 million Xboxes. I think a lot of them really were down to the quality of this particular game. So yeah, he's saying some stuff. I can't hear him. That's fine. I think an alarm goes off in a minute. Is he going to tell me to go into this box here, maybe?
Okay, bring his energy shields online, please.
What do I do? Oh, yeah. Yeah, my energy shields are charging.
All right. Shields read at full charge.
Okay.
Okay,
excellent.
Sir, bring them down to test the automatic
Press A to
reset.
continue. Now what? Is that bad? Oh, I had rumble. Oh, so there is rumble in it. They're not rumble expansions, as I thought. That's good. How do I get out of this? Can I get out of this? That was weird. No grenades. No weapons. I know something bad's about to happen because I played this bit before. Oh. We're doing a bit of running. Nope. Oh, bad stuff's going on, bad stuff's happening. Find Captain Keys on the bridge. Alright, let's go. Find Captain Keys on the bridge. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Jump over obstacles, press A. Oh, that's got to be bad, isn't it? Guess. Oh, my mate's died. Oh, I can't go that way. Oh, that's bad. I was if added insult to injury by killing him some more. Can I get over that? Nope. Where am I going? No. What am I jumping over? Is it this? Ah, there we go. Through here. Alright, great. Let's go down here. What was that? I've still got no weapon. What's down here? Bad stuff. Bad stuff's happening. Things are on fire. Go this way. Yes, I can. Checkpoint done. What the hell was that? Left to crouch under obstacles. Why do I need to do that? Alright, yeah, follow. Yeah. Following. Bad stuff's happening. Can't get that way. Oh, that's bad. Can we go this way now? Let's go. Oh, very dark. The hell is that? The hell is that? Yeah, you do your thing. I want to go this way. Alright, loading done. Loading done. Is that stairs? No. I just wanted to get a weapon before I finish. Bridge, this way. Let's go. Run. Oh, this is bad, isn't it? Where's the bridge? Where is it? Oh, that was bad. There was a lot of rumble there. I think I nearly died. Alright, let's just go to the bridge. I really feel like I shouldn't have done that. Checkpoint done. Here we go. Alright then. Who am I speaking to? It's got to be this guy. So there we go. That's Halo. I'm not doing a full review of the game, but straight away, first impressions, yeah, it's a really pretty looking game, right? I've not played it a lot before. For a game that's, what, 23 years old now, it's looking really cool. I love a bit of sci-fi, who doesn't? So, yeah, I like the look of this. Feels like a game I want to play. Obviously, it gets amazing reviews. So, yeah, lots of rumble going on. Lots of bad stuff happening. Yeah, alright, so that's Halo. So that's what Halo looks like. Let's have a look at Project Gotham Racing. So just a brief pause while I swap the game over. I'll be right back with you. I'm just about to load up Project Gotham Racing. You'll notice as I swap the disc out here, you've got your settings menu here. Oh, it's just disappeared as the game started to load. But lots of things you can do from there. There is no Wi-Fi, but you can go and set your network up ready for, for logging into PlayStation Network. So this is Project Gotham Racing. This was largely considered to be one of the best driving games, certainly on this platform at the time. I have picked a few of these up actually, including one for the 360. So at some point in the future, I would like to have a good review of Project Gotham Racing as a series. Generally considered to have been superseded by Forza. As far as I'm aware, I think they're two very different sort of games really, but this is much more of an arcade style racer, whereas I think Forza is perhaps a bit more on the realism side, although both significantly more arcade racer when you can compare them to the likes of Gran Turismo. So let's have a go. I've genuinely not played this before, other than just for doing a few side-by-side comparisons for my cable discussion. So I've literally done about a lap in this. So I've not played this really at all. Another exclusive for this platform, of course. I think this game came out fairly early in the Xbox life cycle. Right, so let's create a new driver. I'm going to be just called player, I think, and let's just go with that for now. Let's just get straight into the game. requires 4 blocks. Hard disk 50,000 blocks. Yeah, I mean this was one of the greatest things about the Xbox, was the fact that you had this hard drive in it, which I think was about 10. I think it was 10 gigabytes. So yeah, it really lots and lots of space. You never had to bother with the cards. When you think you had like 8 megabytes on the PlayStation 2, to have gigabytes of storage with the hard drive, and you can see, you know, like it's 4 blocks out of 50,000, so you're not going to run out anytime soon. All right, let's go for a quick race. Where do we want to go? Let's go with. Oh, can I actually pick? Oh, I see. I can't pick. All right, I can only pick easy. All right, well, let's go with San Francisco. That appears to be the one that we have to do. I assume we unlock some of these later on. Let's go for. Oh, you know, I love the MR2. Let's go for the MR2. Automatic transmission even. Okay, this is where the triggers hopefully will really come into their own. It's crazy that you take these sorts of things for granted nowadays, really. But yeah, daytime, already quite impressive looking. Racing games always look better, older. You know, a lot of the graphics obviously are very much you know, pre-rendered, so they already look pretty good. So what are we doing? Oh yes, it is the trigger. That's what we want. Of course, the left trigger would obviously make a huge amount of sense. There's a bit of rumble going on there. It's a little on the dark side. I think that's probably again down to the retro scaler. They seem to lose a little bit of that brightness when you're scaling graphics for modern TVs. Something like a retro thing is probably going to give you a better outcome. This is actually that's not too bad. This one I've played this before. It's not there. It's too bad. You had a profile on there. Don't give me that. It's like I genuinely didn't play at all. I was just like, oh, I load a game up, and I think I went about 100 yards in each. Didn't actually do any laps at all. Hey, this is fun. I like this. The controller's lovely. The controller's really, really nice for this. I'm really enjoying the feedback on it. Is really good. The rumble on it is definitely better than the PS2, which is a pains me to say it. It's definitely got a nicer feel to it. It's a bit more comfortable to hold actually. And I hate, you know, I was so convinced that you could better the DualShock 2. I mean, I would say that in the latest generation, the controller on the PS5 is absolutely the stuff of legend. It is easily the best controller that I've ever played with. I haven't played on the latest Xbox, but the Xbox One S last generation controller is also really, really nice. But it's the haptics that make the PS5 controller. Oh, that was it. Nice. And I won as well. Oh, I trashed my car there, look. Brilliant. So what did I think of the original Xbox? Well, here's the thing, right? I was very much a Sony fanboy at the time, back in 2001. And to be honest with you, I probably still am. You know, I have a PS5 in the living room. That's probably the console that gets played the most still, even with all these other consoles knocking around. I am a big Sony PlayStation fan, and I love that. You know, the PSP was my favourite of the handhelds. The PS2 is probably my favourite of all of the PlayStation consoles. When you sort of think about their era in history, and at the time, you know, the technology in the PS2 and the look of it compared to anything that had come before was amazing. Obviously a little bit ahead of the Xbox, but it meant that I was quite close-minded about it, really, and you know, I would always be like, why would you want to buy an Xbox? You know, it's big bad Microsoft. You know, why would you want to do that? They're just going to destroy the games industry. But actually, you know what? I'm big enough and ugly enough to say I was wrong. I think I think this is a really great piece of kit. If you look at it through 2001 eyes, you know, and think about what this bought at the time. You know, Halo, obviously I only played it for a little bit of time, but it was very easy to get the hang of the controls straight away. The controller is surprisingly nice. It's actually very comfortable. The haptic feedback on it, as I mentioned in Project Gotham Racing, I think is better than the PlayStation 2. And you know, like a few years ago, it would have pained me to say that. So you know, I think I was probably too narrow-minded at the time and just decided that PlayStation 2 was all I was going to play. Now, let's face it, I was in my early 20s. I could probably only afford a PlayStation 2. I bought a GameCube as well, so the idea of buying an Xbox probably didn't make a huge amount of sense. And to be honest, these days it probably doesn't either. You know, like if you've got a PS5 or an Xbox, you probably don't need both really now. A lot of the games, a lot of the sort of big cross-platform games, you know, your sort of Star Wars games and those kind of things will be on both platforms, and both machines are very powerful and both play games equally well. It's a case of whether there's any exclusives on either platform that you're really kind of wed to. And let's face it, in the latest generation, exclusives have been few and far between on both PlayStation and on Xbox. So but back then, you know, like I think I might have missed out. You know, I think this is a really good bit of kit. You know, I think I've really enjoyed the little bit of time that I've had to play on it, and I definitely want to go play some more. Project Gotham Racing especially is something I think I want to play. It got recommended to me by someone I know who's a big Xbox fan. And so I've picked a few of them up now as well, and I want to go and play more of those. I've really got into Forza as well, and I've got the original Forza Motorsport I've picked up as well for this, so I do want to kind of go and have a play with that and see what that's like. Although playing Forza 5 and some of the new newest Forzas, you know, obviously it's going to look pretty pants compared to that. But you know what, that Project Gotham Racing, that was great fun. Definitely go check that out. So should you go buy an Xbox? Well, if you've never owned an Xbox before, my advice would be try and go and find one. And there is good backward compatibility on the Xbox 360 as I understand it. So, you know, you don't necessarily need to go and find yourself an old behemoth like this. But you know what, this has got, it's, you know, it is a bit of a brick, and everyone used to call it the X brick, and it was kind of meant as a bit derogatory, but you know what, I don't think it's actually that bad looking. I said it was at the time, but do you know what, it is an absolute monster. It's so unbelievably heavy. I cannot possibly describe to you how heavy this is compared to, you know, something like the PlayStation 2 or the GameCube. The GameCube especially, I mean, that was so diddy. But it's great. It certainly looks the best in terms of gameplay graphics for the time, and you know, it brought a lot of innovation actually at a time when, you know, we said, oh, Microsoft's going to destroy innovation, there'll be no innovation in the games industry. You know, Xbox Live, you know, that's the model for online gaming that still exists today, 24 years later. You know, it came with that hard drive on it, so you never needed to worry about going and buying the little sort of storage cards. You know, it came with that hard drive on it. It had the network integration built into it. You know, a lot of other consoles didn't have things like the Rumble in them and stuff like that. Although, to be fair, all consoles in this generation did. GameCube and the PlayStation did. But you know, the controller, whilst massive, is not too bad. And so yeah, it is. It, you know, yeah, I'm willing to admit that I was wrong. So if you can find one of these, go find one of these. Like I said, just make sure that you check that it works first. And just be wary of some of the things that can happen with consoles of this age. And that applies to any console really of a certain age. So yes, that's probably all I want to say today. So yeah, my advice, go and find one of these if you can find one. If not, pick yourself a 360 up and play some of those original games on there. Nice thing, of course, if you buy a 360, if you buy a later 360, one, you won't have the impending doom of the yellow ring of death, but you also will have HDMI connection in the back as well, so you can plug that straight into your TV without having to worry about things like the retro scaler and all the leads and all the other bits and pieces. Just HDMI straight into your TV, which would be lovely. So yes, that's it from me today. So I will do some more console reviews in the future. I do want to review the other Xboxes that I've got. I would also like to, I'm desperate to do one for the Dreamcast because I love I love the Dreamcast. It's such a great machine, such an underrated piece of kit, and such a shame that it was a flop. Really, I think it was just a victim of timing and marketing, but a wonderful machine. So I really do want to get and do a review of that at some point as well. But next time we'll be back to game reviews. So we'll do a couple more game reviews, and then perhaps another console review later on. So until then, take care of yourselves. As always, if you enjoy these videos, please do hit those like and subscribe buttons down the bottom there. I do really appreciate it, so thank you so much for doing that, those of you that have done already. And yes, I will see you around. Take care until then. Bye for now.